As dawn broke over Tel Aviv, the skyline was abruptly pierced by the fiery trail of Iran's Ghadar missiles. The city, usually bustling with life, found itself under an unexpected siege. In an instant, the vibrant streets transformed into scenes of chaos and disarray. Sirens wailed incessantly, and residents scrambled for safety, trying to comprehend the magnitude of the attack. The shockwave from the explosions reverberated through the city, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. This was no ordinary morning for Israel. It was a direct hit on its heart, Tel Aviv. The world watched in anticipation, awaiting the response from a nation known for its resilience. But what would unfold next was not just a battle of military might, but a complex web of geopolitical maneuvers that would challenge alliances and test international diplomacy.
The immediate aftermath of the missile strike was a scene of pandemonium. Emergency services were overwhelmed as they rushed to the blast sites, attempting to rescue those trapped in the rubble. Hospitals, already operating at capacity, struggled to accommodate the influx of casualties. The streets, usually filled with the hustle of daily life, were now eerily silent except for the sounds of sirens and cries for help. The city's infrastructure, both physical and digital, took a significant hit, plunging parts of Tel Aviv into darkness and disrupting communication networks. As the dust settled, the full scale of the devastation became apparent. The Israeli government mobilized quickly, declaring a state of emergency and deploying additional security forces to key locations. The air was thick with uncertainty and fear, as citizens and officials alike braced for what might come next.
In the wake of the attack, a media blackout was swiftly imposed. The Israeli government, citing national security concerns, restricted the flow of information to prevent panic and misinformation. However, this decision sparked widespread frustration and speculation. Without official updates, rumors began to spread like wildfire, fueling anxiety among the populace. News outlets around the world scrambled for reliable sources, but the lack of official communication only deepened the mystery. Social media platforms became a battleground of conflicting reports as users attempted to piece together the fragmented information. The blackout effectively shrouded the situation in Tel Aviv, leaving both citizens and the international community in the dark. The silence only heightened the tension, as everyone awaited an official statement to shed light on the true extent of the crisis and what it meant for Israel's future.
As hours turned to days, the initial shock of the missile strike gave way to a simmering tension across the region. Israel's military was placed on high alert, and its Iron Dome defense system was activated to intercept any additional threats. The skies above Tel Aviv were patrolled relentlessly by fighter jets, a constant reminder of the precarious situation. Neighboring countries watched with bated breath, aware that any misstep could ignite a larger conflict. Diplomats worked behind the scenes, attempting to mediate and prevent further escalation, but the stakes remained high. Iran's bold move put the world on edge, with many fearing a full-scale war could be imminent. The strategic chessboard of the Middle East was being tested, and every player knew that the next move could alter the course of history.
The international community reacted swiftly to the missile strike on Tel Aviv. World leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump and EU Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen, called for restraint and urged for immediate dialogue. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, with ambassadors from key nations debating the potential consequences of the attack. In Washington, D.C., the Pentagon was abuzz with discussions on military readiness and strategic options. Meanwhile, in capitals across Europe and Asia, foreign ministers scrambled to assess the situation and its implications for regional stability. The global financial markets, sensitive to geopolitical tensions, experienced fluctuations as investors reacted to the uncertainty. While some countries offered support to Israel, others cautioned against further military action. The world stood at a crossroads, and the decisions made in these critical hours would shape the international order for years to come. In response to the missile attack, military movements across the region intensified. Israel's defense forces, IDF, were mobilized, with tanks and troops positioned strategically along the borders. The Mediterranean Sea saw an increased presence of naval vessels as Israel prepared for possible escalation. Simultaneously, Iran's Revolutionary Guard conducted military exercises, showcasing their preparedness. The skies above the region were filled with reconnaissance drones from various countries, each gathering intel on the other's movements. Amidst these developments, NATO forces in the region were put on standby, ready to intervene if necessary. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, as every nation involved calculated their next steps carefully. The specter of war loomed large, and the world watched anxiously to see if diplomacy could prevail over conflict. But then, an unexpected twist altered the course of events. Reports surfaced that a hacker group claiming allegiance to Iran had infiltrated Israel's critical infrastructure systems. This cyber attack disrupted telecommunications and power grids, compounding the chaos already caused by the missile strike. The revelation sent shockwaves through Israel, highlighting vulnerabilities in its cybersecurity defenses. As investigations began, suspicions arose about the true origin of the cyber attack. Some speculated that it could be a false flag operation designed to escalate tensions further or distract from the missile strike's impact. The cyber dimension added a new layer of complexity to the crisis, complicating diplomatic efforts and military strategies. As nations scrambled to secure their digital networks, the lines between physical and cyber warfare blurred, leaving the world to ponder the implications of this modern battleground. Israel's response to the unfolding crisis was swift and multifaceted. The government launched a comprehensive investigation into the cyber attack, enlisting the help of international cybersecurity experts. Simultaneously, the Israeli Defense Forces executed precision airstrikes targeting key military installations in Iran, sending a clear message of deterrence. The airwaves were filled with rhetoric from Israeli leaders, emphasizing their commitment to national security and warning against further provocations. As Israel fortified its defenses, it also reached out to allies for diplomatic support, seeking to build a coalition against Iran's aggressive maneuvers. The response was not just about retaliation, but also about shaping the narrative on the global stage, portraying Israel as both a victim and a resilient actor capable of defending its sovereignty. With the situation escalating, a central question emerged. How did this conflict reach such a critical point, and what are the implications for the future of Middle Eastern geopolitics? At the heart of this crisis lies a complex interplay of historical grievances, strategic interests, and regional rivalries. Israel and Iran have long been at odds, with tensions simmering over issues ranging from nuclear ambitions to territorial disputes. The recent missile strike and cyber attack have brought these underlying tensions to a head, forcing the international community to confront the broader consequences. As alliances are tested and new strategies are formulated, the world is left to ponder the lasting impact of this confrontation on global stability and the balance of power in the Middle East. The crisis has also highlighted the complex web of alliances and rivalries that define Middle Eastern geopolitics. Israel's bond with the United States remains strong, with strategic military and diplomatic support. However, shifting dynamics in the region, such as the Abraham Accords and growing ties between Gulf states and Israel, have introduced new variables into the equation. Meanwhile, Iran continues to deepen its alliances with regional actors like Syria and non-state actors such as Hezbollah. These networks complicate the geopolitical landscape as each nation maneuvers to protect its interests and influence. The evolving situation underscores the intricate balance of power in the Middle East, where old rivalries and new partnerships coexist, shaping the future of the region and beyond. The enmity between Israel and Iran has deep roots, stretching back to the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Before this seismic shift, Iran and Israel shared a strategic partnership, united against regional adversaries. However, the fall of the Shah and the rise of the Islamic Republic transformed Iran's political landscape. The new regime viewed Israel as a symbol of Western interference in the Middle East, an ideological foe. Over the decades, this animosity deepened, with Iran supporting anti-Israel groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. In parallel, Israel perceived Iran's nuclear ambitions as an existential threat, fueling a cycle of suspicion and hostility. These historical tensions set the stage for the current crisis, where every diplomatic misstep or military engagement reverberates with decades of unresolved conflict.
The Israeli-Iranian conflict has seen numerous flashpoints over the years. Key among them was the 2006 Lebanon War, where Iran-backed Hezbollah engaged in a prolonged conflict with Israel. This war showcased Iran's growing influence in the region and its ability to challenge Israel indirectly. Then came the Shadow Wars, marked by cyber attacks and covert operations like the assassination of Iranian nuclear scientists attributed to Israel. Meanwhile, Iran's role in Syria, supporting President Bashar al-Assad, further complicated relations, as Israel conducted airstrikes to prevent Iranian entrenchment near its borders. These past conflicts have contributed to a volatile environment, where each side views the other with deep suspicion, setting the stage for the latest missile strikes.
Israel and Iran's power dynamics are shaped by their military capabilities and alliances. Israel, with its sophisticated defense systems, including the Iron Dome and a strong alliance with the United States, projects power regionally. On the other hand, Iran's influence stems from its strategic location and its network of proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis in Yemen. These proxies allow Iran to exert influence across the region without direct confrontation. The balance of power is precarious, as both nations seek to assert dominance over the Middle East. Israel continually upgrades its military technology to counter perceived threats, while Iran leverages asymmetric warfare tactics to challenge Israel's conventional superiority. On the surface, Israel appears as an impregnable fortress with its advanced military technology and strategic alliances. Its cities, bustling with life and innovation, portray an image of security. However, this surface belies deeper vulnerabilities. The constant threat of missile attacks from Gaza and the West Bank, along with cyber threats targeting critical infrastructure, reveals that Israel's security is not as unassailable as it seems. Additionally, political divisions within Israel over security policies create internal fractures that can be exploited by adversaries. Thus, while Israel projects strength, it simultaneously grapples with underlying challenges that threaten its stability. Despite its technological prowess, Israel's hidden weaknesses lie in its geopolitical isolation and demographic challenges. Surrounded by nations with historical grievances, Israel's regional alliances are limited. This isolation can hinder its ability to rally regional support in times of crisis. Moreover, demographic shifts within Israel, including a growing ultra-Orthodox population with differing views on military service, pose challenges to its defense policies. These internal dynamics, coupled with external threats, create a complex security landscape that Israel must navigate. While its military might is formidable, these underlying factors can undermine its long-term strategic objectives. In recent years, several events have foreshadowed the current escalation between Israel and Iran. The assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani by a U.S. drone strike in 2020 marked a significant heightening of tensions. This act, widely condemned by Iran, led to a series of retaliatory actions, including missile strikes on U.S. bases in Iraq. Further, Iran's continued nuclear developments, despite international sanctions, have kept the region on edge. These developments have been accompanied by an increase in rhetoric from both sides, with threats of retaliation and counter-retaliation. Each of these events has been a precursor, signaling the potential for larger-scale conflict, as witnessed now. As tensions between Israel and Iran continue to rise, diplomatic channels became increasingly clogged with accusatory rhetoric. Both nations ramped up military preparations, with Israel conducting joint military exercises with the U.S. and Iran bolstering its missile capabilities. In the international arena, allies of each nation took sides, further polarizing the global community. The specter of a regional war loomed large, with other Middle Eastern countries bracing for potential fallout. Economic markets reacted nervously, with oil prices fluctuating amid fears of supply disruptions. These rising tensions painted a picture of an impending crisis, one that the world watched with bated breath. Several close calls have punctuated the build-up to the current crisis. In 2022, an Iranian drone was shot down near Israel's border, narrowly avoiding an international incident. Cyber attacks from both sides have targeted critical infrastructure, with Israel's water systems and Iran's power grids frequently under assault. Each incident brought the region to the brink of open conflict, testing the resilience and responses of both nations. These close calls highlighted the fragility of peace in the region, where any miscalculation could lead to full-scale warfare. As each side tested the other's defenses, the world watched, hoping for de-escalation but bracing for the worst.
The crisis reached its climax when Iran launched Ghadr missiles towards Tel Aviv, striking key infrastructure and causing significant damage. As sirens wailed across Israel, citizens raced to bomb shelters, a stark reminder of the region's volatility. Israel's Iron Dome intercepted many missiles, but the ones that hit left a trail of destruction. The international community quickly condemned the attack, with calls for de-escalation echoing through the UN Security Council. Meanwhile, Israel's military retaliated with targeted airstrikes on Iranian positions in Syria. As the world held its breath, the potential for a wider conflict loomed, threatening to engulf the entire region. The missile strike tested the resilience of international alliances. The United States, Israel's staunchest ally, immediately pledged support, with President Donald Trump reaffirming military aid commitments. The European Union, while condemning Iran's actions, urged restraints and diplomatic solutions. Russia and China called for peace talks, wary of the conflict's impact on global stability. Within the Middle East, countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE quietly supported Israel, viewing Iran as a mutual threat. This crisis highlighted the intricate web of alliances and the delicate balance of power, where each nation's response could tip the scales toward war or peace. The strike on Tel Aviv by Iran's Ghadr missiles marked a pivotal moment in Middle Eastern geopolitics. For Iran, this was not just a show of force, but a strategic calculation aimed at disrupting the balance of power in the region. Iran's leaders, including Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, saw this as an opportunity to assert dominance, challenge Israel's military supremacy, and send a clear message to its allies and adversaries alike. For Israel, the attack was a harsh reminder of its vulnerabilities despite its advanced defense systems. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened an emergency cabinet meeting at Jerusalem to deliberate on Israel's next moves, understanding the need for a response that would deter further aggression without escalating into full-scale war. The United States, under President Donald Trump, faced pressure to support its ally, weighing the implications of military involvement against diplomatic solutions. This incident underscored the complex web of geopolitical interests, where each nation's actions were driven by a mix of defense imperatives, regional influence, and international alliances. In the aftermath of the missile strikes, Israel faced significant economic and military costs. The immediate physical damage in Tel Aviv necessitated urgent repairs to infrastructure and homes, estimated at billions of dollars. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, were compelled to increase their operational readiness, which involved mobilizing additional troops and deploying advanced missile defense systems. This escalation meant a substantial increase in defense spending, straining the national budget. Moreover, the incident impacted investor confidence, causing a temporary dip in the Israeli stock market. For Iran, while the cost of launching missiles was high, the geopolitical gains were deemed worth the expenditure. However, the potential for international sanctions loomed large, threatening to cripple Iran's already struggling economy. The United States, standing by its ally, considered the financial implications of further military aid to Israel amidst its own economic challenges. This incident served as a stark reminder of the financial burdens that accompany military conflicts and the delicate balance of economic stability and national security. The incident forced both Israel and Iran to reassess their risk strategies. For Israel, the strike revealed vulnerabilities in its air defense systems, prompting a reassessment of its strategic priorities and defense capabilities. The IDF conducted a comprehensive review of its missile defense infrastructure, focusing on upgrading the Iron Dome and David Sling systems. Meanwhile, Iran's actions presented a risk of provoking a wider conflict, a concern echoed by international observers.
The potential for escalation into a broader regional war was a significant risk, with implications for global oil markets and regional stability. Iran, aware of these risks, balanced its aggressive posture with diplomatic overtures to Russia and China, seeking their support in the event of increased hostilities. The United States and its allies in the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, closely monitored the situation, ready to respond to any further provocations. The incident highlighted the precarious balance of power in the region, where a single miscalculation could lead to catastrophic consequences.
The missile attack on Tel Aviv reverberated beyond the Middle East, prompting a shift in global political alignments. Countries worldwide closely monitored the situation, realizing that the escalation could lead to a realignment of international relations. NATO, led by Secretary General Mark Rutte, convened an emergency meeting in Brussels to discuss the potential implications for European security. The EU, under President Ursula von der Leyen, expressed solidarity with Israel while emphasizing the need for de-escalation and dialogue. In Asia, China and India, both keen on maintaining stability in the region, urged restraint from all parties involved. Meanwhile, Russia, under President Vladimir Putin, saw the crisis as an opportunity to enhance its influence in the Middle East, offering to mediate between Iran and Israel. The United Nations, led by Secretary General Antonio Guterres, called for immediate ceasefire and negotiation, highlighting the need for a multilateral approach to conflict resolution. This incident marked a potential turning point in global geopolitics, where alliances and strategic interests were being recalibrated in response to new threats.
The missile strike on Tel Aviv has shifted the balance of power in the Middle East, creating new geopolitical dynamics. Israel, traditionally seen as a dominant military force in the region, now faces a challenging environment where its security strategies are being tested. The attack highlighted Iran's growing missile capabilities, signaling a shift in military power that could embolden other regional actors. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, wary of Iran's influence, have strengthened their security ties with the United States, seeking reassurance against potential threats. Meanwhile, Turkey, under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has sought to assert its influence by positioning itself as a critical mediator in the conflict. This has further complicated the regional power dynamics, as countries navigate a complex web of alliances and rivalries. The United States, balancing its commitments in the region, must now reassess its strategies to maintain stability and protect its interests. This evolving landscape reflects the fluid nature of power in international politics, where today's alliances may become tomorrow's conflicts.
In the wake of the missile attack, strategic insights emerged from Israel's and Iran's responses. Israel's rapid mobilization of defense systems showcased its resilience and technological edge. The deployment of the Iron Dome and David Sling systems proved effective in intercepting further threats, albeit not foolproof. Iran's use of advanced missile technology indicated a shift towards more sophisticated military capabilities, highlighting the need for Israel to innovate and adapt. The incident also underscored the importance of intelligence and early warning systems in preventing future attacks. For regional actors, the event highlighted the necessity of robust defense alliances and the sharing of intelligence among allies. The United States, leveraging its military presence in the region, emphasized the need for a coordinated response to deter further aggression. This incident not only tested military strategies, but also revealed the critical role of diplomacy in de-escalating tensions and achieving long-term stability. The missile strike on Tel Aviv served as a pivotal lesson for global powers about the unpredictable nature of modern conflicts. For Israel, the need to bolster its air defense capabilities and enhance its intelligence networks became evident. Iran's demonstration of missile prowess highlighted the importance of investing in advanced military technologies and the potential consequences of regional rivalries. For the international community, the incident underscored the necessity of diplomatic channels to prevent escalation and maintain peace. It also revealed the fragility of global alliances, where shifting political tides could reshape traditional partnerships. The United Nations emphasized the role of multilateral diplomacy in addressing such crises, advocating for a comprehensive approach that includes dialogue, sanctions, and peacekeeping efforts. This incident serves as a reminder that in an interconnected world, the ripple effects of regional conflicts can have far-reaching impacts, necessitating a coordinated global response. If you found this perspective valuable, consider subscribing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. Thank you for watching.